Caribbean is often described as the most tourism-dependent region in the world. A titan is described as one that stands out for greatness of achievement, one who is influential in his field. I'm Marline Stephenson Dalley. Welcome to our podcast. We call it Jamaica's Tourism Titans. It's about the movers and shakers of the industry, men and women who have contributed to its growth and development in Jamaica, the region, and indeed the world. Welcome to another episode of Jamaica's Tourism Titans. I'm very pleased today to have a goal-oriented and dedicated tourism development leader with over 30 years' experience in business development and strategic planning as my guest. He is the chairman of the Resilient Corridors Committee and was awarded an Order of Distinction, Commander Class for Outstanding Service to Tourism. He is John Byles. Welcome. Good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure. Tell me, you were born and raised in Montego Bay.
Absolutely.
Yes. Tell us about those early days.
So Montego Bay has always been a tourism-centric. It was a town and it's become a city. Mm-hmm. The capital of tourism now, of course. But growing up, I had friends that were in the hotel business. One of my best friends growing up was the grandson of the owner for Bay Rock Hotel, and that of course became the flagship Sandals Montego Bay. Mm-hmm. And so I grew up at that point, from very early age, enjoying the whole hotel
you
life,
used to be at
so
Dr.
to speak.
Scave from time to time.
Dr. Scave, and another friend of mine, his mother, their family owned quite a few properties, and so 3 days a week I would go to ride horses at the Montpelier, which was one of the Diana de Lissa, one of her family properties, and of course play, after you ride, playing in the river and enjoying that whole area. So I really had a lot of fun as a child. The same person, Diana de Lissa, also had a water sports operation in Negril in the very early days, and she had horses down there from then.
Yes.
So it really has been lots of memories of just enjoying Jamaica in its full sense.
Yes. What stands out for you in those early days in terms of the tourism scene in Montego Bay? I remember there used to be a club near to the city centre. Was it the Banana Boat? No, Banana Boat would have been before your time.
Banana Boat was before my time.
Before our time. But what was it like just being in Montego Bay?
Well, I grew up with city centre being the duty-free centre of tourism, and of course, but my experience was really not just based in Montego Bay. In the middle 70s, my father had started, first of all, what became the Rock House, 5 little cottages down there that he was selling in the early days, and then he built a small hotel which was Coconut Cove. Coconut Cove at the time was one of the first hotels in Negril. I remember it was Coconut Cove, another hotel that was close by called Sundowner.
Yes.
And then after that, it was Dr. McNeil's father that had one other property on the beach. And that beach was just pristine, empty.
Yes.
And, in starting that hotel, and I would say that has probably had one of the biggest impacts is, growing up at that time in Negril, and guests would come, and there really wasn't anything to do. So, one of the first things, of course, was my father had some polo ponies and some horses, and he started, setting up for the horseback rides and along the beaches. In those days, the beaches were like Bloody Bay
Empty.
was completely empty.
Yes.
And then, water sports activities, whether it be the water skiing, the parasailing, a lot of these things
Started to take form.
were very new.
Yes.
And but you had to develop these different activities because the guest, of course, would be there after 2 days. They wanted stuff to do.
Other than just be lounging on the beach and getting your sun tan and all of that, need something else to do.
Right. And who came to work there in the very early days was a very young Joseph Fossmeyer, which I know has been on your
Yes,
show before.
Yes.
And
You did mention.
yes, and it was one of those times when you really, when we talk about farm to table today, which is very popular, or ocean to table, that happened by default.
Yes.
So it really it was that connectivity taking place between tourism and the wider linkages.
Yes.
That
All of the other services that you now need to tap into to make sure that tourism is at its best.
and what the guests are valuing.
Yes. And that's very important.
Yeah.
Very important, especially if you're marketing, your marketing expectations as well, and you must fulfill those expectations, or else you'll get a dissatisfied customer. No?
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's come full circle.
Yes. All right. So you were steeped in the business of tourism from an early age. So you literally grew up in tourism, and you grew up here in Montego Bay, and you left for study. Tell us about it.
Yes, I went away to university. I did high school here, and then
Say the name.
I went to Cornwall College and
Yes.
then to Bel-Air in
You've
Mandeville.
got that Cornwall College blood running through you.
Yes, that's correct.
And you know the Cornwallians say you have, you either went to Cornwall College or you wished you had gone to Cornwall College.
That's something we would say, yes.
Yes.
And so I went away to school in Miami. I graduated from FIU, studying finance and international business. And I came back, and I remember I went to my mother, and I had a beautiful plan that I had, through my studies, I'd put together to run a horseback riding operation and fish farms and different things that I
Yes.
was going to do at the property in Sandy Bay. And she said to me that she didn't pay that money to send me to school to come back and ride horses. So with that, she arranged for me to go to Kingston and to work. And I went to work with ICD, which the Matalans had for
Yes.
about 2 years. And then I had the opportunity to go into my chosen area of finance at Pan Caribbean Merchant Bank.
And you
where
did that for how long?
I was there for about 2.5 years before coming back to Montego Bay to start an investment company.
I was going to ask you what brought you back to Montego Bay,
Yes.
because you seem to have been around a little bit.
So I
to
came
do
back
your own
home.
business, uh-huh.
Yes, to
And
start.
it wasn't the horse business, right?
No, still
No
wasn't the horse
horsing
business.
around.
Not yet. So started Let's Investments it was 1993. And yes, and it it did very well. And in about 2000, 1999 to 2000, I was speaking with my friends, the Melvilles. We played polo together, and I said to them, why don't we do something like that in Montego Bay on this property that we had in the family? And they agreed. They came down, they looked, and we started. So they had the horseback riding in Chucker Cove, and we started the operation in Montego Bay using the horses that we had and expanding
and that would
them.
be the Montpelier location?
No, that was actually the Sandy Bay location.
Okay.
And, in Sandy Bay, just to tell you, I mean, growing up in Sandy Bay, that was a lot of what we did with the tours was what I'd grown up doing, swimming the horses in the sea right there, and riding up into the hills. So as children, myself and many of the other children who were either children of the grooms or children from the community, we would just spend days just riding up into the mountains, eating up in the mountains at some
So, as
little
someone
area.
with a financial background, you found a way of monetizing some of those childhood passions that you
Yes.
had, because this
That's
is what you did as a child, and you came full circle, having gone, did what mom wanted you to do for a
Yes.
while. You're full circle now, linking up with your friend, and hey, now we have Chukka Adventures.
Yes, that's pretty much how it went.
That company has been a game changer in terms of soft adventure in Jamaica, and you have grown. So now we have an idea as to how it started, but tell us about the expansion and where some of the places that you now have, because it's now Chukka Caribbean Adventure. So you're putting your tentacles out a bit. Tell us about that growth.
So well, we started here in Jamaica, as we said, and then the major cruise lines were our customers.
Yes.
We still had a large hotel base here, and they liked what we did, and they provided us the opportunity to open up in other countries, which is really how we expanded. It was through the cruise relations that we expanded. They saw gaps, and we were able to work with them to expand into what we're now in 6 countries. We are in, of course, we started in Jamaica. We are in the Turks and Caicos, Belize, Dominican Republic, Barbados, and St. Thomas Virgin Islands.
What kind of mindset does it take to make that kind of leap? Because you do have some persons perhaps who are listening in, and you're doing your little business and you want to grow that business, you want to expand that business. But it's not just about the financial aspect of having the capital to do it. It's also about that mindset that takes, somebody said to me just yesterday that if your dream doesn't scare you, then it's not lofty enough.
Very true.
So to move from one territory to 6, that takes a particular mindset. Tell me.
So, my partners, starting with Danny Melville and of course Mark, who is now CEO of Chukka, they really were the ones that honed the relations with the cruise lines. And of course Mark is quite a dynamo. He's someone that is always looking at the opportunities. And so each and all of the opportunities really were driven by himself and the cruise lines for the expansion that we did going to these other countries. And so that really was a part of or the strong part of the growth story that we did. Of course, navigating that required making sure that we planned properly, that we were making sure that we had what we needed in place, the people, the investment.
Yes.
And I'll tell you something, it's amazing how we very quickly realized that Jamaicans are few and far between as far as providing that exceptional experience. And we found that in many cases, we had our Jamaicans, if not going over and taking a lot of the guiding jobs, we brought our Jamaicans in to train. And it has been a very big part of our formula as far as the visitor guide.
Yes.
I would call it the secret sauce.
The training.
Yes, the training, but there's something else. There's something inherent in us as Jamaicans that provide what I would call genuine hospitality. We put smiles on faces.
Yes.
We do it seamlessly, and it's not part of the training.
Yes.
It's we more have to give our guides the guardrails, but that little magic formula is in us
people,
as Jamaicans.
In the people. For those persons who are listening from all over the world, from afar, tell us what are some of the packages? What are some of the attractions that you offer or tour packages within the scope of Chukka Caribbean Adventures?
Right. So, of course, we started with a signature horseback ride and swim. And that is still one of our very strong tour packages that we offer. But we expanded into river tubing, zip lining that we got from Costa Rica. We Jeep safaris, ATVs, dune buggies, catamarans, mini boats, and one of the newest types of zip lines we're doing now is we actually have a zip line that goes out into the ocean and brings you back and lands you you land in the ocean. But the one thing that we focus on at Chukka is we focus on being nature immersive. We maintain the authenticity. We want people to connect wherever we can with the communities, and most importantly, we want to showcase the best of every destination that we go to. And if we can't do that, we're not interested in going into that destination.
We're talking to John Byles, the Deputy Chairman of Chukka Caribbean Adventures, and the gentleman who was also Chairman of the Resilient Corridors Committee during the time of COVID-19, the dreaded COVID-19. We'll be right back.
In tourism, the people are the product. Yes, they are one of our industry's most important assets. They help create memorable lifetime experiences. They, through their service, make the difference. We share the stories of their challenges and triumphs, of what makes them tick, of who they really are, just to inspire you to act positively. You too can be an ambassador for tourism and our country and become a Jamaican tourism titan. Start today.
TPDCo's Explore Jamaica has insights into licensed tourism entities across Jamaica. Visit the Google or Apple Play Store and download the app today. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're talking with John Byles. His name is synonymous with tourism in Jamaica, and he's known for his hard work, professionalism, and dedication in serving his country, Jamaica land we love. And just before we took the break, we mentioned that he was the chairman of the Resilient Corridors Committee, and we know how important that was in Jamaica's recovery. Tell us about that time when you were given this mandate, and how did you execute? Who were some of the groups, people who were part of the whole process to ensure that Jamaica was able to reopen its doors long before many other Caribbean countries that are so tourism dependent?
Yes. I can tell you the shock of understanding that there was a complete lockdown in the world is not something that anyone expected. Certainly not us. When it actually happened, there was a period of just recognizing what was happening, and we very quickly, as a tourism sector, came together under the leadership of Minister Edmund Bartlett, and we started to put together a plan. I have never been more proud of us as a tourism industry. Everyone was accounted for. It really was a coming together of the entire ecosystem, and understanding how important all aspects of that ecosystem were for the recovery of the tourism product. In the very early days, we first of all realized that the world didn't have the answers. And we were very lucky to have a lady that was brought on by our minister, Jessica Shannon, who had quite a bit of experience in the Ebola cases in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And she was able to pull on a lot of the relationships that she had internationally. And we were able to get a lot of the cutting edge protocols, understandings of what the virus was. And out of that came the tourism protocols that was built out of that. It is incredible to understand that we locked down in March and we reopened June 15th with protocols for all aspects of tourism. And there was training that was done. Remember, the country was in lockdown.
Yes, and I remember
the training
that I was extremely disappointed when we were locked down. I think it was a Thursday, and we had planned the Tourism Service Excellence Awards for the Saturday, and we were in full flight, and we were told, that's it.
Yes.
That's it.
And I'll tell you, Adam Stewart recognized that one of the most important things for recovery was going to be to secure airlift. And he was able to discuss with the airlines about committing the airlift to the country. And we had to reopen very, very quickly. Those protocols were put together and submitted to Cabinet in sufficient time for the reopening of June 15th.
Yes.
And the training had to be, it could not just be the hotels.
It would have to be everybody.
Training was required for the attractions, for the transportation, for the craft markets, for everywhere. And in a lockdown situation, it had to be done virtually. And we put together, through TPDCO, they put together the entire training program and modules for the COVID protocols in all aspects of tourism. Their team members, Wayne Cummings, Nicola Madden-Gregg, that Omar Robinson, who was at the time the president of the JHTA.
Yes.
Later, there was Clifton Reeder. I mean, the coming together, the training, the way all aspects of tourism and the micro touch points of tourism were considered and brought into the fold. And what it really gave us a total recognition of as a country, I would say, was how powerful tourism was to the economy of Jamaica.
Yes.
There was no question after that shutdown what tourism meant
to Jamaica
and how many areas that we didn't even consider that had that tourism was driving.
Mm-hmm. I'm reading from an article here, and it says probably his most important appointment to date is that of chairman of the Resilient Corridors Committee. And this was written back in, I think, 2020? Yes, which is during the COVID time. And it says that of chairman of the Resilient Corridors Committee, which is an important voice for Jamaica's tourism and economic recovery from the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. He has been working tirelessly over the past 18 months to ensure that there is strict adherence to the health and safety protocols within the three corridors: the North Coast from Negril to Port Antonio, South Coast from Milk River to Negril, and the Kingston Business District, which is New Kingston and its environs. And the resilient corridors, which encompass the majority of the island's tourism regions, provide the opportunity for visitors to enjoy more of the country's unique offerings, as many COVID-19 compliant attractions, including craft shops located along the corridors, are authorized for visits by the health authority. So as you rightly said, it was the entire ecosystem coming together, down to restaurants. The persons who had cook shops now had to be learning these protocols. Make sure you're wearing your mask. Make sure you're sanitizing. Make sure you have wash stands. Make sure you do this, that, even just how you arrange to serve your food from on the line, on the buffet line. No buffet again. You can't go take up food and
masks, sanitization,
everything.
The transportation.
Yes.
Yes.
What a time that was. And we're happy that we can, at this point, not too long after, say that we are recovering?
Well, we have recovered.
Yes.
We have recovered. And as of April 2023, global tourism, for the first time since the pandemic, exactly 3 years later, finally fully recovered. Jamaica recovered before that.
Yes.
And Jamaica recovered. The only other countries in the region that had recovered equal or greater than Jamaica were Mexico and Dominican Republic. So we really stood out as an example.
Yes. And there are many countries I know that would have looked to us as well to say, how did you do it? And to offer some sort of help and guidance for them as well.
One of the things that, again, the collaboration with the Minister of Health, he provided so much facilitation and assistance. And at the end of the day, he was the final decision maker for the reopening. It was really, I can't explain it enough. It really was a coming together of government, private sector, the big players, the small players. Yes. It was everyone.
Our minister refers to it as, those moving parts that all have to come together to make the magic of tourism.
Yes.
Now, you're also chairman of the Montego Bay Destination Assurance Council. What is that? And what is destination assurance? Tell us.
So in the ultimate wisdom of the ministry, what they were looking at is wherever there are tourism towns, that there's a need for alignment by all the agencies and all the players. And so what Destination Assurance Council is really, it's a meeting that takes place once a month, but they're ongoing actions and consultations and collaborations that take place otherwise. And it's about maintaining the tourism product the way it needs to be, making sure that there's alignment and understanding and appreciation. And, to the Destination Assurance Council in Montego Bay is very active. It is, I would say, a success story for destination assurance councils, and it really is because of the players within it. We have agency heads. They understand how important the tourism is for everyone.
Yes.
And it really is, I chair it, but I am really, I'm really there just facilitating what I would say is very good agency heads and other players that in their heart and there's a passion for protecting the product.
Yes. What inspires John Byles?
What I really would like to see is, I like value adding. I like being able to add value. Whether it be for visitors coming, I want to see smiles on faces. In the tourism, there is so much more that tourism can do to improve the livelihoods of people. I really am driven by the fact that, building that inclusiveness, not in the form of charity, but in the form of true value added parts of the destination. And you see it. You see the possibilities of it. You see it happening. Farm to tables. You see it in different forms, in entertainment, etc. But it's an area that I would like to say we all have a greater awareness of the need, that it just doesn't happen by default, and it has to happen by design.
Yes. And what do you like to do in your spare time, if you have any?
Yes.
You're very involved, serving on several boards and, just making your contribution in different areas, but all related.
And I love spending time with my family, and just enjoying.
You have a little one now, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I have two little ones.
Well,
Yes.
thinking of
But
the
I have
baby.
five beautiful children, and I really enjoy spending every minute that I can with them. My work allows me to enjoy it in nature, because just going to the sites with the kids, and
Yes.
they've grown up that way, and the younger ones will grow up that way. And I still enjoy my polo, which I play with my children.
All right. So you're still going back to your horse
Yes.
of some sort, horsing around, whether it's playing polo or, riding the horses into the hills or on the beach or in the water or whatever it is. But finally, what do you say to young Jamaicans and just persons listening in generally, as far as tourism entrepreneurship is concerned? How important is that in growing the industry? And you talk about inclusivity. What would you say to those persons listening in?
I would say that we have a country with 3 million people, but we have over 4 million people in addition coming to the country every year. That's money in their pockets, spending on entertainment and enjoying themselves in the country.
Yes.
This is a huge market that provides the opportunity for a variety of different activities, different opportunities for businesses,
Yes.
whether it be agriculture, whether it be whatever areas people are
Yes.
interested. And it's really, the fact is that we know that people are coming here wanting to enjoy the country. They want to experience the people, the culture, the music,
The food.
the food. So the opportunities are endless. It's really up to our creativity to come up with ways that are going to, what I said earlier, put the smiles on people's faces.
Yeah.
I heard the other day someone said that when a guest comes and spends time with you, that it's an honor that they're putting their 1 week or 2 weeks of vacation time in your hands.
Yes.
And in some of our hands, it might be 4 hours or 5 hours. And just looking at it from that point of view, and then identifying what can I do when that guest is here
To ensure.
to ensure that they are going to have a good time. There's money to be made in that.
Yes. And sometimes, we forget that many people come and they come using their credit card. So it means that you have to go back and work your butt off to pay for that vacation that you just had. So if you don't get a good time, I'm not sure you're going to be very happy paying back for something that you didn't enjoy. And so it really behoves us to give them the best experience. And I do believe that we do well in that department, giving a good experience, because we have over 40% repeat visitors to
That's
Jamaica.
correct. One of the
that's,
highest.
Yes, and that's a big plus. So it means that
Yes.
we are doing some things right. And I just want to thank you. Thank you for the time today and for sharing with us. And I know you will continue the work that you have at hand. And I wish you all the best for not just Chukka, but for the planned developments for Montego Bay and, the role that you play in terms of the destination assurance here. There's a lot of work to be done. So we wish you well.
Thank you. And
Has
thank
been-
you for having me. It's really an honor.
Yes,
Thank you.
and it is my pleasure. Thank you so much for listening to Jamaica's Tourism Titans. We welcome your feedback at letusknow@tpdco.org. Leave us a comment, share, like, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TPDCOJA. I'm Marline Stephenson Dalley. See you soon.